A world surveilled. In the early 2010s, Edward Snowden's revelations shed light on the extensive surveillance practices of the government, uncovering an unsettling intrusion into citizens' private lives. Despite the public's outcry, these disclosures did little to deter the deep state's relentless pursuit of advanced digital surveillance. The subsequent 2 decades saw remarkable progress in the development of large language models and learning algorithms, enabling the deep state to realize the creation of artificial general intelligence and begin its deployment in various capacities. Simultaneously, the entrenchment of corporate monopolies led to significant ideological shifts within numerous industries. Starting in the early 2000s, but gaining extreme momentum by the early 2020s, the introduction and subsequent distortion of environmental, social, and governance principles and diversity, equity, and inclusion frameworks, alongside skyrocketing federal budgets and deficits, paved the way for systematic economic manipulation. As the national debt skyrocketed into the triple trillions, the media lauded the government's increasing promises to the populace. This period was characterized by the implementation of the Cloward-Piven strategy, aimed at stoking economic turmoil. The expanding welfare state and approval of budgets that further plunged the nation into debt were celebrated by the media. In response to the plummeting value of the US dollar, the government initiated a universal basic income system in the mid-2020s, uniquely tied to individuals' biometric data through a wireless pill that required monthly ingestion. This pill was based on a product developed by Motorola and announced in 2013 as a vitamin authentication pill. This new version of the pill generated a unique ID from one's DNA and was powered by the individual's own digestive chemicals. This identification ensured access to essentials like food, housing, and subscription services that permeated the entire globe. The relocation of American industry abroad over preceding decades allowed the deep state and its corporate extensions, major entities like BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, to monopolize the market. With the populace compelled to patronize these conglomerates for their every need, the government's control over purchasing power tightened, branding any dissenting behavior as extremist. The complicity of the media, a legacy and increased expansion of the CIA's Operation Mockingbird initiated in 1963 over half a century earlier, was evident as they heralded the government's authoritarian measures. By 2020, media manipulation had intensified to a pitch and spread via social media, seeping into every aspect of public discourse. Though the populace was confronted with algorithms that intensified echo chambers and manipulated stories on a scale never seen before, the people adjusted. They found ways to open their mind, pointing LLMs back at media and asking it for bias and clarity, while independent media companies began to grow. This was never more evident than when the global pandemic that arose in 2020 was eventually exposed as a direct result of the government's, and more specifically the deep state's, criminal actions. Against the deep state's wishes and the media's actions, this truth was slowly accepted as reality by more than the majority of the populace. Though the deep state did everything it could to misdirect and feed false stories when pressed, it had to be satisfied with the result that although the populace knew, they would do nothing. They had been beaten into submission through mandates and quarantines for long enough that they simply wanted to move on. This was an acceptable result for the deep state, but it also pushed all of their timelines for controlling the narrative everywhere up several years. The internet remained the last bastion of free expression, but soon, just as any pendulum swings, the deep state responded. A new system was put into place in 2025, a joint effort between America's security acronyms like the NSA, CIA, FBI, and others. Though it was primarily built by government contractors, notably Booz Allen Hamilton, that helped build the initial surveillance apparatus exposed by Snowden a decade and a half earlier. The project was known to those with top-secret clearance as Project Kindred, an AGI that was self-teaching. This AGI soon began an assault on the internet to control narratives that surprised even the creators. The internet was under siege by the system's capability to flood the digital realm with disinformation, crafting a distorted reality.